Okay, math for college students. These are notes starting with decimals and fractions. When you're adding decimals, it's very important to line up the decimal points. So 0.305, 0.091, and 0.04. We're going to drop a zero behind that. The zero does not count as any value in that situation, as 0.04 is the same as 0.040. Those are the same, so we can just do that. We add it up, we get a 6. 13, carry the 1, and I get 4. And you put the decimal point wherever it is there in that situation. So 0.436 is your answer. Okay. If you look at this example here, we have some fractions. In order to add fractions, you need common denominators. Common denominators. And the common denominator here is going to be numbers that, see, we have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. 6, we have 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. So it looks like they both multiply to 30, and 2 goes to 30 as well. So we're going to write this out as 3 over 5 plus 5 over 6 plus 9 over 2. Now, in order to add these and create that common denominator, I have to get the 5 to be 30. So I multiply the top and bottom by 6. In order to get the 6 to be 30, I multiply top and bottom by 5. And in order to get the 2 to be 30, I multiply the top and bottom by 15. So it's okay to multiply by 6 over 6 because it's 1. And 5 over 5 is 1. And 15 over 15 is 1. And multiplying by something by 1 doesn't change it. So instead of reading 3/5, it reads 18 over 30. And instead of reading 5 over 6, it reads 25 over 30. And instead of reading 9 over 2, it reads, let's see, 9 times, we've got 135. 135 over 30. When we add those up, you just add the tops now. So 135, 25, and 18, we add them up. 10, 18, carry the 1, that's 7, 178 over 30. Now, we can simplify that. They're both divisible by 2. If you divide it by 2, you're going to get 89 over 15, and so that's simplified. It's kind of a tough one right there. Kind of a tough one. Sorry about that. And note that you don't get to use a calculator on this first test. The other test you definitely will, but this one you don't want to use a calculator, okay? This one looks really complicated. 9 times 10 to the negative 2 plus 7.3 times 10 to the negative 1. We're just going to write them as decimals. So 9 times 10 to the negative 2, what that means is you take that decimal point, you move it once, twice. So it's 0.09. Plus, then 7.3 times 10 to the negative 1, that's 7.3, and move the decimal point one place, so 0.73. So we're going to add those. Again, you line up the decimals, 0.73 plus 0.09, add together, you get a 12, carry the 1, and we get 8, so 0.82, 0.82. Next one, adding these fractions, it would be really nice to have common denominators. And we can, if you notice you have a 4, an 8, and a 2, they all multiply to 8. So 3, and if we change 1/4 to eighths, we have 2/8. Plus 2 and 3/8, that's already in terms of eighths. And then 1 1/2, we'll multiply top and bottom by 4, and we get 1 4/8. So let's add them up. 3 plus 2 plus 1 is 6. 2/8 plus 3/8 plus 4/8, that's going to be 9/8. Now, we can't leave it like that because 9/8 is bigger than 1. That's too many. In fact, if you think about this, that's like 6 and 8/8 and 1/8. 8/8 and 1/8 makes your 9/8. So this this value of 1 here, we can bring it in, so it's 7 1/8. We can bring it right over there. 7 1/8 is our final result. So learning to deal with decimals and fractions is important. Obviously, it's something you've had before, but you notice that it takes some time sometimes to just review it and refresh it and see. Now let's talk about multiplying or dividing decimals or fractions. When we multiply 1.03 times 0.2, and we're just going to multiply. 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 0 is 0, and 2 times 1 is 2. Now you don't have to line up the decimals. When you multiply, what you do is you count the decimal places. There's 1, 2, 3 decimal places. So I move it 1, 2, 3 places. So that means my answer is 0.206. That's my result. When you multiply fractions, you multiply the top and the bottom straight across. We get 36 over 24. We would like to simplify that. 36 and 24 are both divisible by 12. 36 divided by 12 is 3, and 24 divided by 12 is 2. So 3/2 is the answer. This one looks extremely difficult. 0.84 divided by 0.02. We're going to make it really simple. 0.84 divided by 0.02. What we're going to do is, I don't like decimals, so I'm going to get rid of them. If I move it 2 points that way, I get 84. And the rule is that if you move it 2 points that way for one, you do it the same with the other one. So now the problem becomes 84 divided by 2. These are the same problems. We just moved the decimal point 2 ways in both places. 84 divided by 2 is 42, and that's the answer. And finally, the last one. If you're dividing, we don't ever divide. We multiply by the reciprocal when we have fractions. First of all, I'm going to change this 3 2/3. 3 times 3 is 9, plus the 2 is 11/3. So it's 11/3. And instead of dividing, we're going to multiply it by 6 over 5. By 6 over 5. Now, sometimes you've seen that in these situations, you can look to see if something's going to simplify ahead of time. If you wanted to multiply straight across and get 66 over 15, you can. But there's another way. You can also look at it and say 6 over 3 gives me 2 over 1. Now let's multiply. 11 times 2 is 22, and 1 times 5 is 5. 22 over 5. And that's your example for multiplying and dividing fractions and decimals.